It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? If you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. Choose from hundreds of social casino style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
How do you feel when you switch to Geico and save on your car insurance? It's like going to work on one Thursday morning and thinking to yourself, just one more day until Friday. But then somebody in the elevator says, Happy Friday! Then you check your phone quickly and discover today is actually Friday. So yes, Happy Friday, random stranger in the elevator. Happy Friday indeed. Yep, switching and saving with Geico feels just like that. Get more with Geico.
You're listening to Make It, the indie film podcast.
Hey there, I'm Kyler Wilson.
And I'm Natalie Rufino Wilson.
And we're here to talk about mistakes. So, I'm personally here to talk about not working without a contract and also subsequently be careful who you work with. So unfortunately, I've done this more than once. I've made this mistake more than once. You'd think you'd learn your lesson after once, but it's really easy to fall into this trap in the film industry where your buddies or your friends or your work associates, you've gone and grabbed drinks together or whatever, and you feel comfortable with people, and or there's like a position of leadership involved, where someone maybe is like sort of typically your supervisor, so to speak, on a job here and a job there. And you fall into this comfortability zone where you feel like, yeah, I can trust this person. I can do business with this person on a creative level, So again, I've made this mistake, unfortunately, more than once, and I'm sure that the situation will arise where I end up making this mistake again. But it's something that I recommend trying to stay away from. I guess you could argue that I have made the mistake again. I'm working with one of my best friends, Kyle Williams, without a contract right now. And I spent hours and hours and hours doing it, and I'm not really protected. But I trust Kyle Williams. But my whole point about this is to not necessarily just trust everybody and make sure that you know who you're working with before you start doing it. So I have a very specific moment where I'd say it was fairly early in my creative endeavors, maybe, 4 or 5 years in. 2 years in, I met somebody. They liked the script I wrote. That's how this all started. And then several years later, they approached me with this very basic idea of something they wanted turned into a script. So we met up. He presented the idea. It was a pretty vague 1-page pseudo synopsis. It wasn't really like here's what happens in the movie. It was more just I have this broad general concept of something that I think would make a good movie. And he presented it to me. I thought it was a great idea. And I was like, yeah, let's do this. And so, unfortunately I didn't really secure a contract before starting. And I just kind of trusted that the relationship that I had with this individual and the verbal agreement that we had with one another would be enough. So I took the time. I created a big outline. It took me several days. I kind of beat it out every single scene that I thought would be in the first act. And then the second and third acts were a little more broad because I needed to kind of get there. So I presented this outline. And he loved it. Everything seemed like it was good to go. So, that was me developing all the makings of a script. It was a mistake in the making. Roll credits. So I got the approval to start writing the script. I started writing, and I literally cranked out the first draft in a weekend because it was so ingrained in my head. So I was just like on my computer, just rat-a-tat-tatting all over the keyboard. And then I presented the first draft. And when I say it was a first draft, like it was a very well thought out, well fleshed out first draft. You should never just stop at draft one, but it was a good, solid first draft. It really was. I developed all the characters. I developed the tone for the script, every major plot point, every minor plot point. It was essentially building the project from the ground up. So I delivered the script, and then I waited. And I waited.
Oh, it's the worst.
And more than a month went by. And I basically the only message I got was received thanks, and so that in itself was a little frustrating, but it's like I was busy also. I assumed they were busy. It was, this was early in, so I wasn't, really thinking about it being an issue. So finally they come back after more than a month, and, I would say they were generally supportive. It was, hey, great job. This is really solid stuff. But I do have some, pretty minor changes. It won't affect too much sort of situation. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's type them up. Let's have a meeting. They were huge changes. They were changes that affected characters' motivations. They were changes that affected entire story plot points. And most of the changes weakened the overall script, in my opinion. Now, I guess that's subjective, right? I mean, he could be looking at it from one way and I could be looking at it from the other, right? It's a very subjective thing, but this is all why it comes back down to like get it in writing and don't mess around with this, even with friends. So I felt like it weakened it. I explained why certain changes I didn't think worked. Some of them were actually really minor, and it was, change a sentence here and it fixed whatever issue that he had with it. But the big stuff I kind of balked at, and I was like, hey, I don't really think that this works because of this, that, and the third. He came back, basically not hearing my concerns at all as the person who kind of cultivated this little tiny seed into what it was. But we finished the meeting because, we were like a what do they call it? A hung jury. Like we weren't going to see eye to eye. So it was like, we had to just adjourn the meeting. And I was like, just give me some time to think about it and figure out how I can incorporate this stuff with, where it makes me feel good. And for the most part, after I sat on it for a couple weeks, I really mulched it over in my mind and found ways to incorporate most of the stuff. There was one particular scene, however, that it just changed too much. It changed, arguably there's a character. You could argue that it's a main character, and it changed the entire motivation for the whole script. This one scene. It changed not just what was on the page, it changed what was off the page. It changed the lore behind what happened prior to the movie's events. And it was just too large. And it was like, it was the equivalent of like throwing the script out, throwing the baby out with the bathwater and having to start fresh. So I left it.
Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com.
VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
How do you feel when you switch to Geico and save on your car insurance? It's like going to work on one Thursday morning and thinking to yourself, just one more day until Friday. But then somebody in the elevator says, Happy Friday! Then you check your phone quickly and discover today is actually Friday. So yes, Happy Friday, random stranger in the elevator. Happy Friday indeed. Yep, switching and saving with Geico feels just like that. Get more with Geico.
I made all the other changes though, sent it back. Now, keep in mind, this is 2-3 months in to after I've delivered the script by this point. So I sent it back in and then I waited some more, another couple months. I feel like if I went back and looked at timestamps, I might have waited 5 months, before I heard back on anything. And when the person came back, after I had done all this stuff, he responded with, Hey, thanks. Why didn't you change this thing? Why didn't you do this? And I, was like, look, man, I tried, I did everything that I possibly could, to make this work, but it just doesn't. It's weaker. I can't put my name behind that. I just can't do it. And by the way, I just want to say this was all civil, but it was aggravating. I'm sure he was aggravated. I was aggravated. And that's just the way that it was, but it was all civil. It was no, it's not like we were shouting back and forth or anything like that, but he wasn't willing to budge. I wasn't willing to budge. And then things became a little less civil. I was like, I just could not make the change. It feels like the wrong move. It's just creatively not great. And when you change this, it doesn't just change that scene. It changes everything before, it changes everything after, it changes the entire character. I just can't do it. So he came back with, fine, I'll find someone else to write it. And
I'm reliving. I'm reliving.
So yeah, he said, I'll find someone else to write it. And
what a slap in the face.
This was after months and months and months of working with this guy and having a professional relationship with him. This wasn't somebody who found me online. This wasn't somebody who looked me up on IMDb and sent me a cold email. This is a guy that I would see, depending on the time of year, sometimes on a daily basis. And so that was a real, kick to the nuts is the best way I could describe it. If I'm not supposed to say that, I apologize. But that is just simply what it was. It was, I was threatened all of a sudden. So the key lesson that I learned, basically is you have to be extremely careful with who you work with and how you work with them. The reality is I built this entire project based on nothing more than a seed of an idea. I created the characters, the story, the plot, the tone, everything. And I found myself in a situation where I was about to be replaced on my own project, basically. And there's red tape on both sides of this at this point. He is going to have a hard time ever moving forward, and I'm going to have a hard time ever moving forward. And it is more likely that the project never sees the light of day than,
which I love the project.
They get made, and it's
a really fun one.
It's a really great project. So ask yourself, when you're sitting down to do business with somebody, creative or otherwise. I mean, it's not like I've got loads of experience in other industries at this point in my life because I've been doing this for so long at this point. But ask yourself, or if you ask yourself, if you ever even are just, do I need a contract? The answer is yes.
Yeah, if you're thinking about it.
The answer is absolutely yes. And it's almost more important when you're working with friends and family, I'd say, which sounds antithetical probably to most people, but the reality is, if a project goes bad and you don't know the person, then the project goes bad and you never talk to them again. If a project goes bad and it's with your friend or your family, there's a whole different level of silliness that is involved with that. So just having this simple piece of paper, and I'm not saying you got to go get a lawyer or anything like that. Like, there are templates online. There is AI available to look at contracts, like, you know.
Or ask other filmmakers.
Ask other people
that you know, use each other, support each other. You got to remember, a contract doesn't just protect your work. It protects your relationships by making everything clear from the start. Actually, on that note, that script, if I remember correctly, I ended up coming on as a co-writer. And then, like, some years had passed and we found out that script, my name had gotten taken off of it.
Right.
And it was like, it went to a producing hand that I'm really good friends with. And that person was like, hey. And I'm like, wait a second. They just took my name off it. I had no contract to, protect me either.
So, a simple contract could have saved the project, basically, and ensured that everybody was on the same page. But it is again more likely than not that the project never even gets made at this point. So, my closer to that whole story is, in the creative world, people are often quick to take advantage of someone else's generosity or work. And that's why it's super, super important to protect yourself with a contract, because of the trust that I put into this situation without any legal protection at all. I basically made sure the project would never get made. It was a tough lesson to learn, but certainly one I won't forget. It has, even though I said earlier, I will probably make the same mistake again, because of how casual this industry can get. There are little red flags that I see pop up that make me take pause in certain situations, because I had this experience.
Thank you for having us. I'm Natalie Rufino Wilson. You can find me on Instagram with the handle of Natalie Rufino Wilson. You can also find us outsideourmeans.com.
Outside Our Means on Instagram. You can also check out our short films at vimeo.com/outsideourmeans. I
guess if you are a filmmaker and you have questions about this specific thing, or just about how do you get started, you can email me at Natalie@outsideourmeans.com.
Likewise, Kyler at outsideourmeans.com. I'll even respond to emails asking what lockups are on set. Make sure to watch Best Laid Plans. It's our feature that we made in 2020 during COVID, self-financed. We love it. You will too. It's all over the place. Just do some Google searching. It will be very quickly available. It's been even pirated a couple times. We're really proud of that.
Yeah, actually, it was pretty fun.
Anyways, that's it from us. Thanks again. I'm Kyler and this is Natalie. Have a great one.
Have a good one.
It is Ryan Seacrest here. There was a recent social media trend which consisted of flying on a plane with no music, no movies, no entertainment. But a better trend would be going to ChumbaCasino.com. It's like having a mini social casino in your pocket. Chumba Casino has over 100 online casino-style games, all absolutely free. It's the most fun you can have online and on a plane. So grab your free welcome bonus now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
How do you feel when you switch to Geico and save on your car insurance? It's like going to work on one Thursday morning and thinking to yourself, just one more day until Friday. But then somebody in the elevator says, Happy Friday! Then you check your phone quickly and discover today is actually Friday. So yes, Happy Friday, random stranger in the elevator. Happy Friday indeed. Yep, switching and saving with Geico feels just like that. Get more with Geico.